Force will be with you, always.
All right, everybody, from New York to LA, welcome back to the next edition. This has been coming to you from New York, and that cat over there is coming to you from Hollywood. Hollywood.
I'm telling you, land of sunshine and movie stars.
Swimming pools. All right, let's get, before we get started, I wanted to say thank you so much to all our supporters. People have been very positive about the feedback and the show and everything, and I just wanted to give a round of applause to everybody. I want to say thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
We do appreciate it. Thank you so much. So, Star Wars. Okay, once again, my pick, top movie. I'd have to go so far as to put it in my top 15. Definitely top 20, but maybe even my top 15. What about you, Kat?
I'm thinking the same thing. You know, I'm going to put it in two different places in my categories. I'm going to say it's like in the top 20 movies, you know, of its time. But in close to my heart, personal movies, I'm going to say this is like the top 5 movies that bring back, you know, very, very cherished childhood memories.
Wow, top 5. That's amazing.
Yeah,
I'll give you credit for that. To go so far as to make a statement like that, that's pretty bold. Now, when this movie came out in 1977, the lines were around the block. I mean, it was hard to get into the movie to see it. You knew something big was happening. And then when you finally saw it, you wanted to go back and see it again.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was Star Wars mania at the time. I mean, everything was Star Wars. It didn't matter what it was. You know, they had on the local news, this is before cable TV, some people, if you don't know what that's like. And every news station, when they had the news, was showing lines around the corner for people to see Star Wars. It was phenomenal. Nothing ever like that happened before.
That's right. It was trend-setting. It was a watershed moment, as you had said in the past, and we loved it. You know, as kids going to see it, adults loved it. It was incredible. Great adventure movie. Great love story. Triumph of good versus evil. And I can't go on enough about the ending of the movie was brilliant. For me, the ending of a movie is critical. It ties everything together, and this movie, the ending was perfect.
Well,
let me just finish. The one tiny thing it left out that left you on a little bit of a cliffhanger was when Darth Vader flew away. He was still alive. So they destroyed the Death Star, but Darth Vader was still alive. So that was a little bit of a cliffhanger. But other than that, ending perfect. What were you gonna say?
Right. You know what? I'm with you on that. But that at the time, one thing that George Lucas had also done was that you knew there was going to be a sequel. I mean, at the end of it, it's just like you knew right then and there was going to be a sequel.
You see, that's the thing. That's where I differ with you a little bit. I didn't think you didn't have to do a sequel with that one. Now, Darth Vader was alive. It was tiny, but he was all by himself. There was no more Death Star. As far as you knew, you know, the Empire was done with. I think they could have not done a sequel. Although I'm not going to say that the sequel was not good or anything like that, but I'm saying I wasn't so sure that there was necessarily going to be a sequel.
Okay, how could you not do a sequel? The main villain flies away into space. It's like, ha ha ha, I'll be back. You know, what do you think he do? He's like,
all right,
going to go.
Schwarzenegger. All right, Schwarzenegger. That was later on. But that's what I'm saying.
What do you think he's going to go home and get soup for his mom or something? It's just like, I'm the bad guy. I'm going to fly off into space, but I'm going to go home and have soup and like farm.
Well, all right. Like I said, he flew off into space, but he was by himself. What could he do by himself against the rebel forces? I mean, they were tremendous. But I'll go with you. There was a little, like I said, there was a little bit there, but it didn't necessarily have to be a sequel in my.
But it was huge. It wasn't little. It was like this big. It was like a big opening, huge thing. It was for the sequel.
For the sequel? Yeah. All right. So
because you have to understand that the Death Star was not the whole entire army. It was just one part of the whole government faction that was
Right.
trying to stomp out the rebels. The Death Star
Right,
just
right.
happened to be one tool. So when he
I'm
took
saying-
off, he's like, "Well, I'm going back to grab the rest of my posse," and then he freaking
right.
he flew off into space.
Absolutely. But when I saw it as a kid, what I'm saying is I thought that was it. I was like, the Death Stars, they're done. They're just done. Like you attack another, or you're fighting, you're warring with another nation, and you destroy their whole government. Okay, yeah, they have some people left, but they're basically done. That type of thing.
I understand.
That was my thought at the time. Once again, the characters were great. These characters that George Lucas and the people who helped make the movie were iconic. Darth Vader, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Luke Skywalker. Great characters. And I want to run through the cast real quick because they also did a great job. So we're talking
All
about
right.
the great Harrison Ford as Han Solo, the great Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia, Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker, Anthony Daniels as C-3PO, Kenny Baker as R2-D2, Peter Mayhew played the Chewbacca character running around in the costume, and there was a gentleman who played Darth Vader running around in the costume. His name was David Prowse, although as we know or may not know, the iconic Darth Vader voice was James Earl Jones. Now,
I knew the voice was James Earl Jones. I didn't know about the guy who played Darth Vader, like the physical guy was
walking around in the suit. Yeah,
was
David
somebody
Prowse.
different.
Now, last but not least, two great classic film characters: the great Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan Kenobi, and the great Peter Cushing as Grand Moff Tarkin. We know Peter Cushing from the great Hammer movies, the classic horror movies from the 60s, the Hammer movies. Great character. He fought a lot against Dracula. So
Yeah. Wasn't he Van Helsing?
I think he did them all. He was Van Helsing and Jonathan Harker. I think he did them all at one time. But anyway, great cast. Anything that you want to ask me specifically about this movie?
Okay, how about this, right? So we both come from the period of this movie, and then when we seen it, right? So how did you connect with we'll say Luke? Were you more of like a Luke fan or a Han Solo fan?
Okay, I gotta say, at the time I was a Luke fan because I was in love with Princess Leia as a young boy, and the thought.
So should you be the Han Solo since that's his sister?
No, we didn't know it was his sister
Until you saw the movie.
Well, that was subsequent movies. We didn't know it was his sister in Star Wars. If you remember,
okay. I'm sorry.
We don't find out that it's his sister till later on. So in Star Wars, it's still just a love interest. And Han Solo doesn't express, or she doesn't express interest in Han Solo in Star Wars. So her and Luke could still possibly hook up, but also he was the the farm boy who came from meager background to come and destroy the Death Star, the ultimate hero. So
right, rags to riches story. You got a little rags to riches in there.
Riches, loved it. I mean, Han Solo character was great as well. The rogue pirate, guy pretty much out for himself, but turns around and helps out in the end.
Right, he's like a good guy. He's like a bad guy pretending. He's like a good guy pretending to be a bad guy. He has his rough edges, but still in the end, it's like, all right, I'll just do the right thing here.
And does the right thing at the end when he flies in, and Luke Skywalker is about to be shot down, and he comes in and shoots the bad guys and clears the way for Luke to destroy the Death Star. Great, perfect.
Right. Yeah.
So,
I
think I was
that
leaning
Millennium
towards
Falcon was pretty hot too. I mean the way they designed the ship and
Yes.
how he was a smuggler. You know, how Han Solo was a smuggler. I think I was more of a Han Solo guy than a Luke guy. You know, I'm trying to play it cool, debonair. Oh, I got this all under control, but meanwhile, it's like, a chaotic mess behind him. It's like, hey, don't mind that freaking that guy behind the curtain over there. That's okay.
Right. And he had the perfect sidekick, Chewbacca, who had his back no matter what, and had someone to play off of. It wasn't just Han Solo by himself. He had Chewbacca, which was another incredible character. So that was great. No, that was great. That was a great combination. Right.
So I'm going to bring up another thing, because it comes up in later movies. What do you think about Obi-Wan Kenobi teaching Luke the Force, and how that kind of played out?
Okay, well, I thought it was great. Obi-Wan was Luke's first mentor. Okay, and it was great because in later movies, Obi-Wan, we see, was one of the main Jedi characters who, knew the Force like the back of his hand, and was Darth Vader, who was Luke's father, as we find out later on. Anakin Skywalker, they were like best friends. One actually trained the other. Obi-Wan wound up training Anakin Skywalker. Mm-hmm. Basically, Darth Vader's he was his pupil. Darth Vader was Obi-Wan's
Padawan.
Right.
Padawan.
Right. So I think it just followed suit. It was almost like destiny that Luke Skywalker would wind up hooking up with Obi-Wan Kenobi. It had to be, and it was great the way they tied all that together.
It is, but I thought it was kind of also, to kind of bring it into modern day. It was a lot like yoga. You got to start off with the first pose before you can get to the complex ones.
Right.
It's something that is, you have it in you, but you don't really use it until you get trained in how to use it. It's just, you just happen to be a person who happens to be a little luckier than most,
Right.
Or you happen to be a person that, who gets slight intuitions, but until you can train and hone that skill, it's really just, your everyday life.
Sure. And I thought that George Lucas tied all that story in together beautifully. No mistakes for Star Wars. For Star Wars itself, the movie by itself, no cheesiness factor for me. Actually, no, I gotta say, there was one scene where they go into the cantina and these creatures from wherever are playing the clarinet.
Right, the instruments, right?
Yeah. The music was great. I have no problem.
You know what? That music got on Billboard's Top 100. They were playing it in actual discos at the time. I remember they were playing it in discos. I'm like, why are you playing this in a disco? Like,
I had no problems with the music, but just the visual, seeing it was almost like the Greys, they almost like the gray alien, whatever, playing the clarinet. They just brought it down at like a half an inch, but it wasn't a big scene. You only see them for a couple of seconds. But other than that, no cheesiness factor for me in that movie. Tied together well. Excellent ending. Great music. John Williams. Mm-hmm. Excellent composer. Academy Award-winning composer. All around great. Nothing. I can't say anything bad about the movie.
You know what? I'm gonna go with you. Also, I can't really say anything bad about this movie. I'm thinking it was a great piece of work. I remember specifically in regards to this movie, what I just wanted to bring up, that something that was warm to my heart, is that was right around when videotape came out, and you guys had Star Wars on the videotape that first summer, and I remember it was me, you, and your brother. In your basement, in the air conditioning, we had to watch Star Wars at least 400 times. And your mother got so pissed at us, she would like, go outside. And we're like, yeah, in a minute, click.
We're watching Star Wars, how do you argue against that,
And right, I remember we spent basically the whole summer inside, and your mother got so mad, and we were just in the basement, wrapped up in blankets, AC fully on, and
we loved it.
Then your father would come in, it's just like, you got this AC running all day. It's like, yeah, but we have to have it just right to watch the movie.
Right, and I don't know if you remember this at the time, but he was able to hook up the audio from the VCR to the stereo, and just added an incredible element to it. So
Yeah,
that
it was
good.
it was it was it was you know, like it was cutting edge. But I just remember having that whole summer there, and that's why this movie will always be close to my heart, and I will always remember that. You know, until I die, I'll always remember that. It was just,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know. It was like kind of like a Stand By Me kind of moment. You know, when you look back at kids of something that you were doing that, you know, you'll
That's
never
right.
be just that
Right.
happy.
And I was right around that age too. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So let me tell you some facts about this movie,
Okay.
as I understand them. As of 2015, Star Wars was the second highest grossing media franchise earner at $42 billion. Right behind the Pokemon media franchise at $53.49 billion.
Oh, and when was that? As in when?
As of 2015.
2015. So Pokemon was still beating Star Wars. What's up with that Pokemon? I don't want to catch them all. I don't want to catch them all.
That was incredible to me too. I am not that familiar with what the Pokemon media franchise, all the different things. I know about Pokemon, but I would never have imagined that they were a top earner over Star Wars franchise. So I thought that was incredible.
Yeah, I'm really surprised about that.
Right.
You know, with
Well,
all
it
the
was.
subsequent movies, all the merchandising, all the video games,
Yeah.
all the everything that goes along with that.
Right.
You know, I wish I owned the S in Star Wars. I'd probably not be talking here right now.
No, that's all right. This is fun. So we mentioned the cultural impact of the movie. Star Wars made science fiction films specifically mainstream and made science fiction films a mega money genre. Once again, we talked about books, TV series, computer and video games, theme park attraction, comic books. It's never going to be forgotten as having a major cultural impact. Now, for people that aren't familiar with the series, they talk about the Force. What is the Force? What is it? Now, here's a clip from the great Alec Guinness, who plays Obi-Wan Kenobi, explaining what the Force is.
It's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us, it penetrates us, it binds the galaxy together.
So it's almost like a superpower, which allows for the paranormal powers of telekinesis, mind control, precognition, and clairvoyance.
Right.
And a great disturbance in the Force, as if millions of voices suddenly cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced.
You know, I read one of the books on this, you know, on on Star Wars, you know, where they started going in more in depth and explaining it, because there is a whole culture out there. You can actually join the Church of the Force. You know, there's a Jedi church out there that you can
Right.
actually join, believe it or not. I was like, really? You can become a Jedi? I'm like, I want
Right.
a girlfriend, but if you want to be Jedi, you know, you can do that.
I guess that's like these people who do the Civil War reenactment, you know, type of thing. Well, I mean, the Civil War was real. This is a work of fiction, but you know, along those lines, where they're trying to live out that particular,
which I think is not necessarily a bad thing. It's really not a bad thing at all to aspire to, you know, the Jedi principles, and you know, and I kind of go
Right. They
go
were
along with
100%
that.
benevolent. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at
Yeah.
least they were trying to be, and then I think that like, you know, the whole ethos that goes around Star Wars, you know, I mean, it comes from, you know, the right place, you know.
Right. Yeah, I agree, 100%. Now, once again, we had mentioned before that George Lucas knocked this one out of the park, nailed it. And this is a clip on him explaining why he thinks, or why he thought, Star Wars was so successful.
I think one of the key factors in the success is that it's a positive film. It has heroes and villains, and that it essentially is a fun movie to watch. It's been a long time since people have been able to go to the movies and see a sort of straightforward, wholesome, fun adventure.
And it was an adventure movie. I mean, it fundamentally changed Hollywood films from primarily dramas to special effects superstars.
Right. Well, because special effects up until then was a very, very expensive and laborious thing to do. Because
That's right.
even in this movie, they were making a lot of models, a lot of die-cast models. People had to do a lot of that stuff. This is the first one that actually brought in the CGI with like the lasers and how they were done, and then the space and so on. So this was a combination between like the CGI we know today and then the old style of movie making, which is
Right.
models and things in the background, where
Right.
this actually made it look real. But in the past, other science fiction movies, they look cheesy. You can be like, okay, who's back there holding that string, as they're flying something
Right.
across the screen, like, and here comes the spacecraft.
Buck Rogers, like you said in the other one, right? Yeah, and not only the CGI, which was great, but combining the models, like you said, but as well as the acting and the music, everything came together. It wasn't just like a CGI movie with nothing else. Everything came together perfectly.
I'll agree with you. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So now we got to talk about Carrie Fisher for a second, who played Princess Leia. Excellent, incredible actress from Hollywood royalty. I mean, her mom was Debbie Reynolds. Her dad, Eddie Fisher, grew up in Hollywood. Walk the walk, talk the talk. She was great. Now, she was approached by George Lucas to do this part. But what appealed to her about it was that the character wasn't some damsel in distress. She was somewhat tough. And this is Carrie Fisher on what appealed to her about the part.
What appealed to me was that George Lucas, who wrote it and also directed it, didn't want a damsel in distress, didn't want your stereotypical princess, sort of a victim, frightened, incapable of dealing with the situation without the guys. So he wanted a fighter. He wanted someone who was independent. And that's what appealed to me about that part, yeah.
Governor Tuck, I recognized your foul stench when I was brought on board.
And she was tough, and she did a good job.
No, I think she did do a good job. She wasn't your prototypical princess needs her nails done. She was a princess of, I'm listening, but you guys are saying something stupid. Go this way.
Right, exactly.
You guys are debating too much. I hear what you're saying, but that way.
This way. You go. No, go. Right. So let's talk about Darth Vader for a second. You brought up great villain. Okay. Now, it was the costume was great, but the voice, they had to nail it. So they got James Earl Jones, and they weren't really sure. James Earl Jones wasn't really sure which way to take it. And he collaborated with that on George Lucas. And this is James Earl Jones' thoughts on that.
When George had a chance to counsel me, he said, we don't know what we did right, so let's just try what we did. And naturally, I wanted to make Darth Vader more interesting, more subtle, more psychologically oriented. And, so he said, no. What we're finding out is you got to keep his voice on a very narrow band of inflection, because he ain't human, really. So
Right.
that was the answer.
Right.
And that was the answer. And it was great.
That was the answer.
That was the answer. One last character I want to mention was Luke Skywalker. His family, Anakin Skywalker, Luke Skywalker, as we find out later on, Princess Leia is his sister. Once again, one of the main characters, great character, Luke Skywalker. The actor who played him, Mark Hamill, grew up loving sci-fi, and that was why he did this movie, and this is him talking about that.
That's one of the reasons I became interested in cinema, because of films like King Kong, Forbidden Planet. It really is my favorite genre of them all, and I think that's why I'm so excited to be in a film like this, because if I could pick any subject, this would be it.
He loved it, he did it, and he nailed it, actually. Mark Hamill did a great job.
Yeah, I think he did, and I felt bad for Mark Hamill because his career really didn't go anywhere after that. Where Harrison Ford, his career, this was just like a springboard for Harrison Ford to be in freaking everything. Anything that said action, anything that said, rogue, type character, with a bit of humor. He was in it. Mark Hamill,
Right.
He got put down, into the D lists, even
I'm not
though
sure
I don't
if
believe he
this
should have.
is actually the truth or not. And I'm not going to speak for Mark Hamill, but I think he stepped away from Hollywood a little bit. Whereas
Too
Harrison
much.
Ford, I think he was good with it, and he focused his talents or his energy elsewhere. Whereas Harrison Ford, he jumped into it. He wanted to be an actor from the start, so he just jumped into it. But also great roles. I mean, I'm not taking anything
great
away
roles.
from-
You know what? If they got like the deals that the Hollywood stars got now, getting like a 2% on the back end of this movie, he is that. Don't worry about it. I'd be Mark Hamill on the beach. What are you, Mark Hamill on the beach? Where are you? I'm Mark Hamill in the bar. Where are you? I'm Mark Hamill in Paris. Like, who are you? I'm Mark Hamill in China. What do you want?
Right. Yeah.
That's
absolutely.
like having Simpsons money. It's just like,
That's right.
what are you? So I don't feel bad for him. But
No.
if he was going to be an actor, it just seemed that Hollywood didn't do him any favors after that. But
one
yeah,
thing-
I still think it's great. He'll be forever in cinema history.
Cinema history, exactly. And one last thing I'll say about Mark Hamill, from what I've heard, is that he is a super nice guy. Great guy, salt of the earth, really, really great guy. So that's good.
I'm
Well, look,
glad to hear that.
yeah, so Kat, listen, we're running out of time, but I do see we have some phone calls. People want to ask us some questions. So I want to take a couple before we leave for the day. And this call is for Kat, and this is Jamel from New York. Jamel, you are on the air.
Hey, Kat, this is Jamel from New York. We're just calling to say I'm loving your new show, and how's everything going in L.A.?
Oh, it's going great out here, man. I love the fun, the sunshine, and a couple of bars. That's where you normally catch me at. But thanks for asking, Jamel.
Just wanted to know, who's your favorite Star Wars character?
I'm going to go into Han Solo. For Star Wars itself, I mean, it changes as the franchise goes on. But, the rogue, always flying by the seat of your pants. That's kind of how I live my life sometimes, even though I wish I didn't. So, but I appreciate the call, man.
All right, Jamel, thank you for the call. We appreciate it. Next call is Trina from the UK, United Kingdom. Not United Kingdom. Trina, International.
Hi, Vin. Hi, Kat. Vin, I just wanted to say I'm loving the show.
Thank you very much.
If you had to choose one, would it be C-3PO or R2-D2?
Great question. People have argued this, for years and years and years. C-3PO, protocol droid, okay, basically can communicate with anybody. He knows millions and millions of languages or whatever, and he can walk around, and he has the humanoid form. But R2-D2 is the ultimate computer, who can also communicate. So I think, based on what I know about both of them, I would probably have to go to R2-D2 because, like I said, he can plug into anything, anywhere, and he could shut down the world if he wanted to. Anything that's plugged into a computer, you could be like, R2, close down the government, it's just done. So I think, Trina, I would have to go with R2-D2 on that. Trina, thank you so much. Next call. This looks like we have a call for Kat. This is Raven from Miami. Raven, you're on the air.
Hi, Kat. Am
Hey.
I on the air? Oh my God, I'm so nervous. You're in LA. Have you ever met Harrison Ford?
The funny thing that you'd ask. In my line of work, I ended up meeting a lot of different stars. I've met Will Smith, I've met Drew Carey, I've met Tom Cruise, but I have not had the pleasure of meeting Harrison Ford. I haven't seen him anywhere. Matter of fact, I haven't seen him driving around. But I do like his characters, and I do like this movie. Hey, thank you for that call.
All right, Raven from Miami. Thank you so much. The next call, we are looking at John from... Where is he calling? Oh, John from Tucson. John, you are on the air.
Hey, Vin. Hey, Kat. Hey, listen, thanks for taking my call. I got a quick question. Which do you think was a better movie, Star Wars or The Empire Strikes Back?
Another great question. One that's been debated for a long time. You can answer this one, Kat, but for me, I can go different ways. There are different aspects to both movies. I don't know if I didn't want to bring Empire Strikes Back into this because we're doing a Star Wars review, but I mean, I don't want to take anything away from Empire Strikes Back.
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
Darth Vader trying to weigh us a little bit there. Well, what do you think, Kat?
You know, to me, it wasn't much of a debate. You know, I thought that Empire Strikes Back was a really good sequel to Star Wars. It did play into it. It did continue the story. It did have a strong storyline. You know, I mean, it was, epic. You know, I mean, it's just like the whole trilogy, put together, was epic. So, I'm on the fence, but I'm still going to go with, close to my heart, Star Wars is always going to be the first, the original. You broke the mold on it, but you did make a whole new mold with Empire Strikes Back.
All right. I hope that answered your question there, John. All right, I think, Kat, we have time for one more call. Let's see. Tommy from Las Vegas. Tommy, you are on the air.
Hi, Kat. Great show, by the way.
Thanks.
Listen, me and my buddy are gambling men. We bet $15 on the under-over on how many times you saw Star Wars. I say over 10.
Over 10. What do you say, Kat? Over 10?
Yo, man, it has to be at least 400. So,
well, over 400, yeah. So I would say, Tommy, you definitely won the over, and you definitely won your $15.
$15, little man. Put that shit in my hand. If that money doesn't show, then you owe me, oh. My jungle love, yeah. Oh, we owe.
That's funny.
That is funny.
Great. Anything else, Kat? Anything else?
For all you Jay and Silent Bob fans out there, they will be having another movie. Kevin Smith is putting one together right now.
Love Kevin Smith. Big fan of Kevin Smith. That's great.
I'm a big fan of Jay and Silent Bob, man. Those guys crack me up. Because the Time is the most awesome band in the entire universe.
And for Star Wars, I gotta say, great family film. Definitely see it. Take your friends, your family, your loved ones. Definitely see this movie.
It's a good Friday night movie. Get the popcorn, get the kids, huddle up as a family, and watch Star Wars.
And it was great to see you, Kat. We had a great show today. I want to thank everybody for watching. It's been a wonderful show. Thank you very much. And I just want to say, this is Vin coming to you from New York, and that's Kat over there from Hollywood. And from New York to LA, we will see you all at the next edition.